Hey Central students, excited to be back with you again as we continue our series talking about atypical, as we look at family and we talk about what it means to be a biblical family and handle conflict in the way that Christ is calling us to as a family, and then how we treat one another that we live with and those who we're around. And so if you remember last week, we talked about atypical and we talked about your family, and the challenge is don't dwell on the negative. Look to the positive and understand that God can use your family no matter how dysfunctional, no matter how different it may be. And so this is going to be a little bit different. We're going to split this lesson into three short parts. And so we're going to begin with this. We're going to be looking at a different family in the book of Genesis, and we're going to be looking at the relationship between Abraham and Lot. So if you have a Bible, I want you to look at Genesis chapter 13. We're going to read a few verses. So Abram went up from Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him into the Negev. Now Abraham was very rich in livestock and silver and gold, and he journeyed on from the Negev as far as Bethel to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai to the place where he had made an altar at first. And there Abram called upon the name of the Lord, and Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, so that the land could not support both of them dwelling together. For their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abraham's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. And at the time, the Canaanites and the Perizzites were dwelling in the land. Then Abram said to Lot, "Let there be no strife between you and me, and between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, for we are kinsmen. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself from me. If you take the left hand, then I will go to the right, or if you take the right hand, then I will go to the left." And Lot lifted up his eyes and saw that the Jordan Valley was well watered, everywhere like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt in the direction of Zoar. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself all the Jordan Valley, and Lot journeyed east. Thus they separated from each other. Abram settled in the land of Canaan, while Lot settled among the cities of the valley and moved his tent as far as Sodom. And so we're introduced here to Abraham and his nephew Lot, and we see that they're living together in this community. But everything that they have and all of their people, it starts to become a little overwhelming. They start to have conflict with one another. They start to kind of get on each other's nerves, and finally Abraham comes up with the solution of, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to split. We're going to divide. We're going to, you're going to take your people this way. I'm going to take my people this way. And so sometimes in our families, when we have conflicts, we have to figure out how to address those conflicts. You want God to do something crazy and awesome in the life of your family, is that you need to pray for one another. A true family who is answering the call of God and doing what God wants them to is lifting each other up in prayer. No matter what your family dynamic looks like, you may have a mom and a stepdad at home, you may have grandparents, you may be raised by siblings. It doesn't matter. If you want God to move in the lives of your family members and do something amazing in your family, then the challenge is to pray for them, and pray for them as often as possible in very specific ways. And so you're going to be hearing that throughout the course of these videos this week and in this week's lesson. And so join us as we look at the relationship between Abraham and Lot, and how a true family who wants to be used by God, an atypical family, is a family who is praying for one another.